What happens when you use one fabric as the inspiration for your quilt or your block's color scheme? Let's find out. Hi, I'm Andy, and this is True Blue Quilts, a place for you to enjoy, experiment, and excel as you create. Today, we're going to look at the Long Dash block, which is part of the Little Bit Different Block of the Month program. If you want to know more about the whole Block of the Month idea, check out this video. Recently, I was looking at all the different green fabrics that I used to make the Long Dash block in March. And I landed on this green polka dot fabric, and it's just a fun fabric. But I started to think, what if this was the background of my quilt? A long time ago, I heard a tip from Bonnie Hunter about classifying your fabric based on the background. So if you're trying to sort your fabrics by color and you have a multicolor print, you want to look at the background. So this multicolor print has a green background, so I'm going to sort this with my greens, which is where I found it, in my bin of green fabrics. But as I take a closer look at that fabric, it has yellow and red, and if this is the background, you can make such an interesting quilt or quilt block by pulling out some of those colors. So that's what I did. And of course, being True Blue Quilts, I grabbed a blue fabric to put with this background. So let's see how that block turned out. I'm ready to sew the components for my Long Dash block. So I'm going to pair my fabrics, corner squares together so that I can make 2 at a time half square triangles. And I've already drawn my line from corner to corner, and I will line that up on my 1/4 inch foot so that I can sew a 1/4 inch away from that diagonal line. I like to chain my pieces. Just keep that sewing machine going. And we also need our bars in our block, so I'm going to get those right sides together and continue chain piecing the components. I have 2 long bars to put in the middle section of my block. And 2 short bars that go across the top and the bottom. And then I can come back to the beginning of my chain and sew the other side of my half square triangles. And since I am chain piecing, I can put the long bars on either side of the center rectangle. Then I can take my half square triangle unit, I'm going to cut right along that line and square these up to fit in my long dash block. My half square triangles are trimmed to the right size, and I have to remember which is the background fabric, which is the green, and which is my accent fabric, which is the blue, because the half square triangle and the bar form that churn dash section. So I have to get those lined up and touching each other correctly to make the block work. So I will put those right sides together. And with these little pieces, I'm not matching up seams right now, so I'm going to sew without pins. And like I said, I am chain piecing, so I'll grab another unit, make sure I'm making a blue churn dash section with those, so that will become the bottom of my block. And then I can reach around and continue chain piecing with these units. This is why sometimes it's fun to have a couple projects going on at once, because then you can just keep your chain piecing going. And carefully keep those units all in place. We want to make sure that we get our bars lined up correctly, because we wouldn't want to sew this on the wrong, to the skinny green. We need to sew it to the wide green, because that wide green is the center of our block. And we need a bar on either side. And then I can put the other triangle, again, double checking to make sure that it is turned in the correct direction to be the corner of the block. And I am finger pressing my components. And then at the end, I will give it a good press with an iron. But to get everything, I did those out, so I want to do this part to go in to the center block so those seams nest, and then I can line those up. And now that I am matching seams, I will bring a pin in and put a pin right across that seam line so that those intersections are nice and precise. Take that pin out right as my foot gets to it. Make sure everything is laying flat. And now I need to grab one of my leader ender sections, since I don't have a second block going right now. And then I can add this last row. I'm going to finger press to the center, same thing, so it nests. And this part of the block, it's going together just like a 9 patch. You sew the horizontal rows together and then you complete the block by adding the top and bottom sections to that middle row. Pinning to keep those intersections in place. Ta-da! Here is our churn dash, where I wanted to see what it would look like with that darker background and pulling out one of the accent colors. So you can see that green and blue makes a really, really pretty block. This is another sampler project where I used a focus fabric to choose my color palette. So I really loved this modern fabric. I think it was from K Facet Collective, but I'm a big fan of blues, so I knew I'd put some other blues with it, but then I needed to decide on these accent colors. So I went into that fabric and found some pink and purple shades that just blend really nicely with that. And in this alternate Starburst fabric, there's also that kind of light pinky purple shade there. So take a good close look at your fabrics when you are choosing colors. If you'd like to know more about choosing fabrics and color schemes for monochromatic quilts especially, those are my favorite, I invite you to watch this video next.